Hi, I'm Susie Garden, and this is the Ageless and Awesome podcast. I'm an age-defying naturopath and clinical nutritionist, and I'm here to bust myths around women's health and aging so that you can be ageless and awesome in your 40s, 50s, and beyond. The Ageless and Awesome podcast is dedicated to helping women through perimenopause and menopause with great health, a positive mindset, and outrageous confidence. Hit subscribe or follow now, and let's get started. Hello, gorgeous one. I hope you're having a fantastic week so far. I'm continuing my little series on perimenopause and mental health because it's just such a big topic of discussion at the moment. I'm seeing so many people with issues with anxiety and depression, and a lot of people don't realize that this can be linked in with hormones, particularly in your 40s. So last week I did an episode on perimenopause and depression, and this week I wanted to talk about perimenopausal anxiety. I mean, anxiety and depression are kind of on a bit of a spectrum. There are some of the underlying causes, particularly in relation to perimenopause, where there are hormonal links, but it is a bit of a sliding scale almost, I guess you'd say. So both can kind of be present at the same time, or you can have one or the other. And, you know, recently it's been discovered that there really is a something called perimenopausal depression, and it's very specific to women in their perimenopausal transition. So it's really important to know about it, because when you know these things, you understand what's going on in your body, why you might be feeling a certain way, and that, you know, there are things to help, and it might be time to get some professional advice as well. So let's get into today's topic. So anxiety is pretty common, to be honest, amongst a lot of my clients and a lot of society really these days. And there is a difference between having anxious thoughts and anxious feelings and having full-blown anxiety. You know, all of us will have experienced some sort of anxious feelings at some point where we worry about something. But when you're worrying a lot and you're worrying about things happening in the future and you're worrying about things and what we call catastrophizing, like really thinking of the worst case scenario on almost a daily basis, then that is something to be concerned about and to perhaps get some help with. Also, if you're having panic attacks where you're feeling that sense of palpitations or the heartbeat in the chest, where you're feeling a little bit out of control, you might feel like the world is closing in. You may feel like a sense where you just have to quickly get out of a situation. I know for me, once when I was in the middle of my burnout, back when I was in corporate, I did have a panic attack. It was in a shopping center that I was very comfortable in. But yeah, and I had this overwhelming need that I needed to get out. Because I think there is, or certainly for me, there was just a worry that I was just going to completely lose control. So if you're having episodes like that, then it's definitely time to get a handle on it. You may not necessarily need professional treatment, but you might. So it's worth having some information so that you can decide whether this is you and whether you need to get some help. So let's dive into this world of perimenopausal anxiety, what it is, why it happens, and how you can ride the waves. Because perimenopause is really like a roller coaster, right? If you're in it, you know what I'm talking about. If you imagine you are on a roller coaster and you're climbing up that first steep hill. This is a weird analogy for me to use, by the way, because I hate roller coasters. I'm terrified on roller coasters and I get motion sickness. So it's really not a good combination. So I've experienced these feelings, the heart racing, your breath quickening, your stomach doing somersaults, and, this is the world of perimenopausal anxiety. Just as your body is adjusting to fluctuating hormones, your mind is grappling with a myriad of emotions that can leave you feeling like you're on this emotional roller coaster. So what is perimenopausal anxiety? It's kind of like that unwelcome guest who barges in unannounced and overstays their welcome, right? It's a surge of unease, worry, fear even, that can creep up on you, often when you least expect it. And while it's completely normal to experience some level of anxiety during perimenopause, for some women, it can become overwhelming and can interfere with daily life. So let's talk about why. Hormones, of course. Hormones are actually chemical messengers, and they can turn even the most zen-like person into a bundle of nerves. And during peri, your body experiences a hormonal dance that can throw your emotional well-being off balance completely. Fluctuations in estrogen and progesterone levels can impact the neurotransmitters. These are the brain chemicals, such as serotonin and dopamine, which play a key role in regulating your mood. And if you've just listened to the podcast I did last week on depression, I was talking about very similar things. And as I mentioned earlier, these are kind of anxiety and depression exist along a spectrum. So a lot of the underlying causes are the same. So it's just like having this delicate balance. When the hormonal instruments are out of tune, the melody of your mind can become discordant. And this hormonal turbulence can lead to increased feelings of anxiety, irritability, and depression. So while the hormones are taking center stage, they are not the only players, because of course your life experiences are going to have an impact on this. What's going on in your life right now? Are you under a lot of stress? Do you have things going on in your life, such as issues with your kids or your aging parents or your job, your relationship, your finances? All of this is going to play a part as well in anxiety. Genetics also plays a part, we know this for sure, and lifestyle factors. And this is what I love. When we know that lifestyle factors can play a part, we know that there's some really easy, simple, accessible, inexpensive things that we can do to influence these. And that will influence the intensity of the perimenopausal anxiety. Also, if you've had a history of anxiety in the past or mood disorders, you might be more susceptible to experiencing heightened anxiety during peri. So this is the thing. As I mentioned before, you're not powerless in the face of this. And if you adopt a proactive approach, you get armed with information, and you start actually doing some things to help your health, you can regain control over your emotional well-being and emerge stronger than ever. So let's look at it. Let's look at how we can get us through our perimenopausal anxiety, because there are plenty of things actually that we can do. If you've been listening to me for a while, you know I'm always going to talk about the mind-body connection in some way or form. So just as your mind can influence your body can influence your mind. It is a two-way street. And engaging in regular physical activity, like really getting yourself into your body. So that could be something like yoga. Yoga is particularly good because it's so mindful. But taking mindful walks, surfing, rock climbing, whatever your jam is, can do wonders for reducing anxiety because it grounds your nervous system. Physical movement releases endorphins, which is a fabulous, natural mood lifter, which can help take the edge off anxious feelings. Food, of course, I'm going to talk about nourishment. So nourishment for the soul. A diet is not just about the body. It's also about feeding your mind. So opt for a balanced diet that's rich in whole food. So that's food that's not coming out of a packet. Whole foods, lean proteins, healthy fats. Omega-3 fatty acids are particularly important, found in foods like salmon, flax seeds, hemp seed oil, eggs, have been shown to support brain health and reduce anxiety. Really important. The power of no. Learning the art of saying no. As women, we do tend to take on a lot. It's easy to say yes. It can be really hard to say no. And when you do say yes all the time and you're not prioritizing yourself, you get excessive commitments. They're unnecessary stressors. maybe even toxic relationships that you're not getting yourself out of, whether that's romantic relationships, whether it's friendships. Create some healthy boundaries and prioritize self-care. This can go a long way in managing anxiety. A lot of anxiety is about overwhelm. So pare it back. Say no when you can say no. The world will not fall apart if you say no to something. So, prioritize the things that really need to happen sometimes and learn to say no. Of course, I'm going to talk about mindfulness and meditation. There's a mountain of research supporting this to soothe an anxious mind. Of course, when the mind is very anxious, mindful movement and moving meditations can be a better solution than a seated meditation. Letting go of worries and focusing on the present moment can be supported with things like apps. There are plenty of free online resources that can guide you through mindfulness practices that soothe your anxious mind. I have a couple of free resources. If you can't find them on my website, then please just message me at Susie Garden Wellness on Instagram or Facebook, and I'm more than happy to send you links. Also, seeking support, always asking for help is important. If perimenopausal anxiety feels like an insurmountable mountain, then consider seeking support from a therapist or a counselor, a friend. They can, if it's a professional, they can provide you with tools and coping strategies that are tailored to your unique journey. But even talking to friends that maybe have been through this themselves or are experiencing it, it really just helps to know that you're not alone and you're not going crazy, because you're not. This is something that's going on in your body, in your brain, and seek support, please, because there's so many things we can do to help you. And the thing is, this anxiety, it might be an uninvited guest, but it doesn't have to hijack your life. There are so many things you can do to build resilience, to get through it. And particularly if you understand that this is a part of it, can really help you to manage and understand, okay, this is just part of my hormone. It's going a little bit crazy right now. Anyway, I hope this episode has been helpful to you. Please let me know if you have any questions for my Q&A Thursday episode. I always love hearing from you. Thanks so much for joining me today on the Ageless and Awesome podcast. If you liked today's episode, please make sure you click the little plus button if you're on Apple Podcasts, or the follow button if you're on Spotify, so that you can get each new episode delivered to you every single week. If you like free stuff, and who doesn't, then head over to susiegarden.com and grab my 8 essential age-defying secrets every woman over 40 should know right now. Or if you'd like to continue the discussion, head over to Instagram and DM me at Susie Garden Wellness. I'd love to connect with you.